Welcome back. Now, I would like to hear what you think about this needs assessment committee set up by the Speaker. Do you think it can help address some of the concerns expressed about the running cost of the National Assembly? You can write in through any of our addresses on the screen with the hashtag RepsNeed. Hashtag RepsNeed. Now, I had a chat with a member of the Needs Committee, Samson Itodo, who is the head of research and advocacy for the organization Youth Initiative for Advocacy, Growth and Advancement. He started by assessing the step taken by the House of Representatives to set up the Committee on Needs Assessment.
The House of Reps, particularly the Speaker, should be commended for taking this route of conducting an independent assessment. Because if you were at the inauguration, the Speaker in his remark did mention that there has never been a time that an assessment of this nature was actually conducted to determine what are the needs of the National Assembly. And so for some of us, it really got us worried that so we're coming from a background when year in, year out, we have budgeted for the National Assembly without even conducting any needs assessment. So what was actually the justification for pegging 150 billion as the budget for the National Assembly, or for even reducing it to 120 billion? So there was no justification. It means someone just sat down and said, okay, yes, we did estimations and projections. That is not how you run an institution, a sensitive institution like the National Assembly that is a participatory hub of democracy. So this intervention by the Speaker should highly be commended, that you taking up leadership in this issue. And I probably see this as a response to the public outcry on the fact that we're not, we have a National Assembly that is receiving, that takes a large chunk of our budget, and we're probably not getting reward or dividends for the amount of inputs that we make in the National Assembly. Because if you look at the 7th Assembly, look at the number of bills that the 7th Assembly actually passed. Is it commensurate with the inputs? Is it commensurate with the budgetary allocation that they actually get? So against the background that, okay, it is said that, yes, we have the highest paid, or based on recent statistics, I think we're the second after Australia, highest paid legislators in the world. Kenya is also there as well in Africa, but perhaps the highest in Africa. And you're wondering, if we're the highest in Africa, then there should be a justification why we're actually the highest. And this can only be determined via an assessment.
Okay, you spoke about a report which puts Nigeria as the first or the second in Africa. Yeah. Which report?
Yes, The Economist. The Economist did publish this report sometime last year, and that informed the protest that we led to the National Assembly on the need for National Assembly to actually open up its processes. And we wanted the lawmakers to actually publish what they earn. Because you can't talk about citizens' participation if you don't talk about transparency and accountability. The National Assembly needs to open up its process. That's one institution that has been closed over the years. And you send freedom of information requests. Even in the 7th Assembly, you hardly get any response to the FOI request. And organizations have sued in the National Assembly countless of times for their non-compliance with the Freedom of Information Act. And so for the Speaker in the 8th Assembly to have taken this route of getting independent, credible, eminent individuals from civil society, from professional organizations to assess the legislative needs, particularly within the 8th Assembly, and determine whether the National Assembly is either underfunded or overfunded, I think it's actually a laudable initiative.
Now, I know you've been one of those that has tried a lot to get the National Assembly working better, address some of what you see as the challenges or ways they have not really stepped up to the plate. With the setting up of this committee, do you see this addressing some of those challenges, or do you think there are other areas that might still need to be looked at going forward?
Yes, it will definitely reflect in some areas. Because a typical example is the aspect that deals with communication. Now, the National Assembly needs to improve on its communication, both internal and external, and also improve access to information. Now, this comes at a cost. Now, the National Assembly is considering the Parliament's radio station or even TV station that can transmit its legislative processes and consideration of bills at a cheaper rate, and also considering, do we need to actually televise the cost of televising the proceedings of the National Assembly, because that also comes at a cost. That's also very, very key and very important, because that's one way to actually get information and get to know what's actually happening in the National Assembly. And it's part of our duty as a team to assess whether this is even needful, or are there other means to actually communicate with Nigerians who actually seek to know. How do you also get citizens involved? And because one of the terms of reference is to look at what will it cost to actually open up the National Assembly for civil society, for individuals and organizations to actually get involved in the work of the National Assembly. So I think that this is very, very holistic in its nature and in its manner, and it will look at those key areas. One thing that I'm actually confident about is that committee is made up of people who of high moral integrity and of impeccable character, and very, very professional in the dispense of their duty. So I am sure, as a member of that committee, that we will actually do our best. And those gray areas, because we have a duty to ask those questions. I am a representative of civil society and youth in that committee, and we have to ask questions when things are not clear. We need to know what was existing before, what's currently existing, and then look at ways to fashion our recommendations that will first make the National Assembly more transparent. I think at the heart of this assessment is, how do we make a National Assembly more transparent? How do we make the National Assembly more accountable to the people?
We do know that recently the Senate, that's the other arm of the National Assembly, had set up a committee to look at their costs, and we're told the recommendations of that committee was not well received in the Senate. It's actually still clouded right now in a lot of uncertainties. As you are among the members of this new committee by the House of Representatives, does this not worry you going forward, that this may also, the report of this committee may suffer something like that?
Well, let me say this, and I'll say this advisedly, that yes, we're not oblivious of what transpired in the Senate. And one of the things that this committee, if you look at the way our structure and our mandate is to look at beyond the House of Reps, looking at the National Assembly as a whole. And the fact that the committee submitted its report. Well, as a committee, I'm sure we will not be deterred by whatever response that we get. And so we will present a report that does not only reflect our view based on our assessment of the situation, but reflects the will of Nigerians. Because we were constituted by the Speaker in his right and in his power as the Speaker of the House of Reps, but we are representatives of the people. And whatever comes out of this report or this exercise has to be a reflection of the will and desires of the Nigerian people. We will present our facts the way they are. The decision makers are there, but on our part, we must ensure we present a report that is justifiable, that is objective, that speaks to the issues, and with a clear roadmap on how to run an efficient, an accountable, and a transparent National Assembly. These three principles are very, very germane to those of us who are members of the committee, because efficiency, would like to improve the efficiency of the National Assembly. We'd like to have an accountable and a transparent National Assembly in the discharge of their functions of oversight, representation, and lawmaking, because this is very, very key. We can't have a National Assembly that takes about 120 billion, which is virtually the same amount of money that we used to run our elections, particularly the 2015 elections, and the Nigerian people don't get value for their money because lawmakers are paid with taxpayers' money. And so how can you have a National Assembly that sits for 180 days and yet does not churn out enough bills that actually address our desires? Are these bills there? Yes, these bills are actually there, but what do we actually spend time doing as lawmakers and not really looking at how to pass bills that spur economic growth and development? Because the National Assembly regulates economic growth and development of a country. And it's a very, very sensitive institution, because if you don't have a parliament that is functional, you will definitely have the executive box itself in a corner that it cannot perform. It impedes on the performance of the executive, and that's very, very, very key. That's what makes that institution a very, very sensitive and central institution, and it justifies the reason why Nigerians are beaming their satellites on the National Assembly.
So your own, in conclusion, you are sure. You're sure that the country will be better for it after this committee completes its work?
Well, the reality is we are a committee that was set up by the House through the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Yes. We will finish our work and submit our report to the National Assembly. But a point needs to be made that in the discharge of our duty, we will be guided by, one, the principle of patriotism, and also the principle of openness and transparency. Because first, we are accountable to the Nigerian people. And because the Nigerian people believe strongly in us, we will ensure that the outcome is a true reflection of their aspiration. If Nigerians think that the National Assembly actually is overfunded, we will come up with a recommendation that there is need to cut down the expenditure of the National Assembly. If it's established that the outcome that we've seen over the years is not commensurate with the amount of money that goes into the National Assembly, then we will be justified by making such recommendations. But for now, this is a needs assessment. And one of the high points of this assessment is to also make recommendations for innovative ways of running an efficient National Assembly. It's not everything that you need to pay for. Are there creative ways, are there strategic partnerships that the National Assembly can actually enter with different organizations to say, okay, this is part of the support that we'll be providing for you. So you don't need to budget for those things. A typical example, you can get young techies who can help design applications and programs for you that would be at no cost. A lot of young people will be willing to donate that sort of service to the National Assembly. You can have a National Assembly app, and you just have the information or the public affairs section of the National Assembly that feeds information into the app, and people get access to this information, and it can come at no cost. But there are innovative ways that we will actually explore in our recommendation, and that's the National Assembly to actually explore. So we actually look at this, revisit the issue of the National Assembly budget, as well as looking at the number of aides that our legislators need, and also the staff. Because when you talk National Assembly, we're also going to be looking at NILS, the National Institute of Legislative Studies. We're going to be looking at the National Assembly Commission as well, because there are agencies that are within the National Assembly. We need to look at these institutions as well. Look at even the chamber. Look at the lawmakers' offices. Look at their constituency offices. So it's a holistic exercise that we have been saddled with the responsibility to.
But I'm sure from what you're saying now that after this exercise, the country will be better for it.
The country has to be better for it. Has to be better because I strongly believe in the capacity of members of this committee and their commitment to this country. And the sense within the committee is we have an opportunity, a unique opportunity to get things right. We have a unique opportunity to improve our legislative processes. We have an opportunity to make contributions on how to run a very effective, accountable, and transparent National Assembly. There is no patriotic Nigerian who will not seize that opportunity to ensure that we move this country to greater heights.
Well, a very interesting chat there, but I will be looking forward to hearing from you to get your own opinion. And these are opinions we will share here on the program. But that will be in our next episode next week. Till then, I'm Lanre Lasese. Bye.